What's up guys, welcome back to PTPioneer, the best online resource to starting out as a fitness professional. In this video, we're going to be covering the top 10 tips to passing the ACSM exam. If you guys want to see a free study guide, check out the links over at PTPioneer.com. You can find the link over here in the corner or in the description below. If you're looking for additional study materials for this specific certification, head over to traineracademy.org. They have a lot of great resources and they offer an exam pass guarantee. All of the links can also be found in the description below. And don't forget guys, don't forget to smash the like button. It definitely helps out the channel, and subscribe if you're looking for additional content in the future. Now, if you've done all of that, let's get right into the video. Starting off with our first tip, you need to know health risk classification. Basically, all of this means is that you need to understand how to classify individuals based off of the data that you collect on them from your initial assessments. When you're collecting data on potential clients or clients that you're already working with, it's important to take note of what are the potential risk factors. Once you're able to categorize where each of the clients are in their fitness journey and what are their specific needs, then you are able to create a fundamental training program that's catered to their specific goals and needs. From here, you'll be able to assess what sort of actions need to be taken afterwards in order to progress them through their training. This involves taking into account the different types of exercises and mobility work and flexibility that you need to apply based off of what they're capable of doing at that moment in time. So without being able to have a health risk classification, you might be prescribing the wrong exercises, thus leading to further injury. By doing all of this, you will be able to provide the best quality service for your clients in terms of different exercises and training, as well as protecting yourself in terms of liability. Now, moving on to tip number 2, you need to know the cardiac cycle and blood flow. Starting off, you need to understand the anatomy of the heart, understanding where each of the ventricles and atriums are located, and all the different details related to it. In addition to the blood flow that comes into the heart and out of the heart, and how that relates to each of the other systems. This means you don't necessarily just need to focus on the cardiovascular system, but you also need to know this in detail on top of the other systems within the body. Questions like this will show up consistently within the test, so be sure to study up on them. The third tip from our side is to understand biomechanics. With ACSM, they have strict detail in terms of what sort of exercise contributes to each muscle group and how that exercise is going to be performed. So starting off, you need to understand the general terminology as well as what is going to be performed during each exercise. Generally in this area, you need to understand the basic details, but this will come up quite frequently within the exam itself. Now, moving on to tip number 4, you need to understand ACSM's guidelines for prescription. Due to the fine detail that ACSM covers within its textbook, you need to understand these guidelines to the T. Starting off, you need to know what is the correct exercise prescription. This is again based off of the data and information that you're able to gather from your risk assessments. Following this, you need to understand the procedure for creating the right exercises for that specific client. All of this information will be put towards creating a more effective program for your client and thus leading to better results. Now, one thing to note with the ACSM exam is that it will cover very little in terms of exercise technique. Knowing all the details for each of the primary movers is going to be essential, however, that will be the extent of it. All in all, the exam might not cover all of the specific details in terms of cueing and form correction, but still, this is a very important aspect to learn because when you are actually working with clients, then you need to understand how to inform them on the proper cues and the right technique. Now, by doing so, you will definitely help in preventing injury later on in the future, as well as any potential liability issues that might result from that. So, all in all, it is super important to know the cueing and the forms for the right exercises. However, it might not be covered in full detail in the exam. Knowing the proper technique is super important, especially when it comes to smashing the like button. Now, tip number 6 moves on into general topics, but the first is understanding how to fully utilize the textbook. For this certification, all of the information will be provided in the primary textbook, and due to all of the specific detail, this will be primarily all you need for starting out and studying for the exam. When you're searching for some additional information, if you're getting stuck on practice exams, referring back to the textbook should be your go-to. Now, tip number 7 is to fully utilize a study guide. By leveraging a study guide that is already mapped out for you for the ACSM textbook, it helps with digesting the content even further. By having a proper study guide, it will allow you to understand which topics will be most likely covered within the final exam and which ones you'll really just need to skim over. This is primarily if you're looking to complete the final exam within a shorter time frame, but in general, this is also super important to identify how to understand which topics are going to be covered. With ACSM and all of the details that it covers, it will definitely help you in terms of increasing your ability to study and decreasing the amount of time it will take. Now, moving on into tip number 8, this is in regards to taking practice exams. We highly recommend that you take as many practice exams as possible before you start the final exam. This is primarily due to the fact that you never really know how ready you are for the final exam until you actually take it. This primarily helps you in terms of understanding how the exam will be formatted, in addition to understanding what sort of gaps you have in terms of your studying. If you are able to pass the exam with at least an 85%, then that should be a good indicator that you are ready to take the final exam. Now, moving on to tip number 9, this goes more into the study techniques, in which we highly recommend having spaced repetition flashcards. Now, we won't go into too much detail with this, but with spaced repetition, this mainly refers to how frequently you study in order to retain information. There is this thing called the forgetting curve, in which if you don't revisit some information over a period of time, there is a higher chance that you might forget it. By consistently revisiting some of this content and material, you will be able to reinforce this for long-term memory. By implementing spaced repetition and revisiting topics that you have previously studied, you will be better prepared for taking the exam after a period of 3 to 6 months. Now, with this information, we'll try to cover this in a future video. Lastly, tip number 10 is to set a good study schedule. Every aspiring personal trainer is going to be coming in from different backgrounds and education levels. Some people might be working 9-to-5 jobs and looking to have a career shift. Other individuals might still be taking university classes or just getting started after high school. One common thing for all of these groups in relation to this certification is that you need to have a proper study time and sticking to it. This means that you need to study and prepare for your final exams by blocking out dedicated time periods during your day. Doing all of this in combination with the spaced repetition technique, you will be able to recall all of the relevant information, as well as being able to cover all of the information that you need in detail within the ACSM textbook. You'll be able to recall all of this information for the final exam once it comes around. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what you should be focusing on and prioritizing when you're preparing for the ACSM final exam. Now, don't forget, we also have a free study guide over at PTPioneer.com for the ACSM exam. So you can go ahead and check that out in the link up over here or in the links in the description. If you're looking to cut your study time in half, be sure to check out the study materials over at traineracademy.org. You can try out their MVP study program completely free. All you just need to do is select which certification you're looking for. In this case, the ACSM. Now, if you guys like this video, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe if you guys are looking for more content. It definitely helps out the channel. Otherwise, that's it for this video, guys. Good luck studying, and we'll see you guys in the next video.